निशान सर, आप योर माइक इज एन ऑफ, सो अगर आई थिंक कुछ मुझे है कि आप बोल तो नहीं रहे ना कुछ ऐसे। निशान सर, आई एम ऑडिबल? आई गेस निशान, Nishan sir, your mic is not, is it working or it's something you need any help? निशान सर, आपका माइक अभी ऑफ है, उसको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा, आवाज नहीं आ रही। आई गेस no sir, your we can see your screen only, but your mic is on mute. Okay sir, done. Sure, sure. अक्षय आपका माइक अनम्यूट है. Guys, please wait. Nishant sir will be back in next 3 to 4 minutes. If you need any assistance or any help from my end, so please do let me know.
Hi, Damini. You were telling something on modules and
Yeah, so I was saying, guys, so after completing of I FAP landscape, we will going to enter to the next topic, which is the principle of accounting. And a few topics will be going to conduct with the KPMG trainers. And I would like to tell you what topics will KPMG cover, as this program is endorsed by the KPMG. So I'll let you know the topic names. Just give me a minute.
Hello, Damini ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
Good, आप बताओ.
Ma'am, एक request थी, ma'am. If you agree that I think I'm not wants to get KPMG trainers, right?
Yes, I
As you know,
understand the
as you,
concern,
as
but
you,
let me
as
complete
you
with.
know, we are as you know, we are already getting some session with the KPMG in
Yes.
FA13.
Just wait. I'm just
Please.
yeah. So I was saying I know, but the KPMG sessions which we are going to do right now was going very well with the previous batch also, with the FAP 18. If you required, I can separately provide the recording of the FAP 18, so you can go ahead and check the delivery. Fine. And guys,
I think I think वही इशू
yes,
वापस
नहीं होगा. So please,
दोबारा देखने को मिलेगा मैम.
नहीं
You
होगा.
know very
I'm
well
yes, अगर होता तो I will not going to put any session of the over the trainer.
FA13 में क्या my you know well about that.
Your voice is breaking.
They have no
Your voice is
good
breaking. Yes, I'm not able to hear you. Yes, I think we'll talk in this separately, but I would like to continue my conversation.
if
Yes, I'm
अगर मुझे समझ नहीं आए then I will let you know if I want Nishant sir session for that.
मेरे को आपकी आवाज नहीं
if
आ
I
रही.
want Nishant sir session for
यश मुझे आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
I drop message. You can just look at the message box.
We can do one thing. We can talk separately after the session. Okay, because there's a lot of network issue. Your voice is cutting very bad.
Sure. I will.
Yeah. So guys, I was saying that the KPMG is the knowledge partner with the program.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have designed this program with the KPMG. So the KPMG have their own going to conduct the sessions after the IFAP landscape, and the topics we will cover, like it is principle of accounting, financial statements, prepositions in the specific financial items, ratio and consolidation of accounting. And after that, after a few after a month, we're going to do WPL case study and the solution. These are the topics with the KPMG we're going to conduct with your batch. And rest talking about Yash, he's giving the feedback with the earlier with he was in the batch with the KPMG sessions. He's not fine good with the batch. Even not Yash only the batch, but I would like to tell you the KPMG sessions doing very well with Ematicus. So we also done the previous with the last batch only currently with Nishan batch. So the feedback is coming very well, and we will definitely conduct your lecture with the trainers with the KPMG only. And I will take care of the Yash feedback later. Yash will connect separately on this. And I guess Nishan sir is there, so I'm over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, hand over this to the session to the sir. Sir, I make you the presenter.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I was facing some, I think, technical issue earlier. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Any questions out from what we discussed last time? Guys, any questions last time? Any questions before I kickstart?
No questions, sir.
Okay.
No question.
No, sir.
Okay. So if I recollect correctly, I think in the last class we started off with the private equity, or we had to start with the private equity? Have we done this piece, private equity?
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
have discussed the topic till organic and inorganic growth.
Yeah.
We have discussed types of M&A, horizontal, vertical, and conglomerate.
Yeah, M&A complete हो गया sir. So two topics that I
We
hold on with the
covered
M&A.
private equity, about offering of shares and definition of private equity.
हाँ ठीक है. तो मैंने I think basic start किया था. ठीक है. So we'll start off with the private equity then. So just give me a second. Let me open your. Uh, yeah, so this is what we discussed last time. I think the portion which is highlighted in red. So private equity.
Sir, I have one question for IPO regarding IPO.
Yeah, Anjali.
Sir, can we discuss ASBA and all that details of IPO? what ASBA is and how it affects? Means what are the things we should cover in that?
So ASBA is your type of an account. So how does it work?
Yes.
So suppose today if there's an IPO and you open an ASBA account. So suppose, let me put this way. So you have an account, so which is called as ASPA account. And suppose you have 500 balance in that account, and you have applied for an IP, and you have applied for shares in IPO, and that amount of your application is 400 rupees. So what happens in ASBA? Your amount of application of this 400 rupees will not get debited from your account. So earlier, what used to happen? If suppose without ASPA account, if your balance is 500 rupees and you're applying for an application, and application money is suppose 400 rupees. So आपके अकाउंट से डिडक्ट हो जाता था, इसमें जो बैलेंस दिखता था वो 500 minus 400 दिखता था. And if in future, in case your application is rejected, then money is put back into your account. अच्छा, money is put back into the account, ऐसे होता था. अंजनी, ये क्लियर है? तो यहाँ पे लेस हुआ पहले.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
और फिर ये रिफंड है. ठीक है. सो व्हाट हैपेंस? सो सपोज ये 1 Jan को हुआ और ये 31 March को हुआ. So now for these 2 months, not 2 months, 3 months, correct? 3 months gap हो गई. 3 months के लिए आपका जो इंटरेस्ट है, you have lost the interest. You have lost the interest because आपके अकाउंट में पैसा 400 रुपए नहीं था, correct? You have lost the interest. So that's the problem. This amount seems to be very small to you, but think of an amount which is very big. So suppose if this would have been crore, if you're a global investor, you might be investing some crore rupees. So for 3 months, you lost the interest because the amount the amount got deducted from your account, and for 3 months, this amount was not in your account. Hence, you're losing of the interest. Anjani, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, to solve this, SEBI, which is regulator for capital market, came with a concept of ASPA. And what this ASPA account does, in the same process, if my account has a balance of 500, so what it does, if your application money is for 400 rupees, so again, application money, what it does, this amount is not deducted from your account, but it's blocked in your account. So ये 400 block हो जाता है, which means आपका जो balance है account का, वो आपका balance अभी भी 500 ही दिखेगा, but you will only be able to spend 100 rupees. So which means the amount is still lying in your own account, and hence you continue to receive interest, but you will not be able to utilize that amount. It's been blocked in your account. That's called as ASPA. Anjani, is that clear?
Okay, sir. Yes. Yes.
That's the concept of ASPA account in IPO. Most of the IPOs in last couple of years, they come out, the issuance of shares are being done through ASPA account. Anjani, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Sorry, I'm not sure. There are a couple of queries on chat. Akansha has put something. I don't know. I'm not able to make out what it is. Akansha, what this query is all about? KPMG session. Sorry. What is,
So
was this?
actually, this was about the earlier talk we were having with Damini.
Okay.
So it was that. Also, I had another question regarding the IPO.
Okay. So before, so it was before I joined in, correct? So nothing to do.
Yeah,
I don't have to respond to this. Okay. Okay. So
yeah.
as so, my concern is your query should not get unaddressed. So Damni have responded to these, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Is there a separate group? Like, I'm not aware on this.
Separate group in the sense.
I mean, Akansha reach out to you on through personal chat, or is there a separate group apart from the WhatsApp group? Maybe I'm not
अरे नहीं
included or a part of it.
अरे नहीं आकांक्षा ने किसी
Maybe.
क्लास के चैट पे कुछ डाला हुआ है सो आई वाज नॉट एबल टू फिगर आउट व्हाट दिस क्वेरी इज सो शायद मेरे लॉगिन से पहले ये क्वेरी पूछा होगा so that's why I
Okay,
was not
because
able
I
to
have not heard, sorry, sir. Actually, I have not read out that query because I'm not a part of that group. So maybe some of the important information I can miss on that. That's why I was asking.
no there's no group the Akansha has put a chat into this
Okay, okay.
into this
Okay, now I have got it. Go meeting chat box.
yeah
Okay, I'm clear. Sorry. Sorry for confusion.
yeah Akansha, go ahead.
So basically, sir, my question was regarding the IPO. If the private firm has to actually issue any share that goes in public, are there any procedures that have to be followed?
Yes, so the most important procedure that needs to be followed is a listing criteria. So if a company has to go for IPO, which means it will convert from a private company, from private company to public company. That's so for this, the first company has to list themselves, listing karwana padega. So that's the most important piece, and each stock exchange, so depending upon whether you want to list your company on Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange, or depending upon where do you want to list, each stock exchange has their eligibility criteria. So they will give you a list of those requirements and list of those documents that you need to submit. So what you need to do, the company secretariat needs to submit the application along with all those list of documents which the stock exchange has requested for. And then once you are able to comply with those requirements, then only you are allowed to get listed on the stock exchange. So that's the biggest process that needs to be completed before a private company becomes a public company.
Okay, sir. Thanks. And sir, also one more thing. In this listing procedure, the amounts, like, are there any categories that the number of shares should be some particular amount, and also the revenue of the company should be of a particular amount?
Yeah. So in these listing criteria, there are requirements like the company's net worth criteria. Company needs to be into operation for last 5 years, out of which the 3 years they need to be in profit. The company's board of directors should not be blacklisted. Company should have PAN card. Company should have GST number. So there are a hell lot of requirements into that, and of course, there are requirements for each stock exchange. The minimum number of shares should be this much. The number of shares offered to the public should be this much. So all these requirements will vary from stock exchange to stock exchange. But yes, each stock exchange will have very similar requirements around these things. But the numbers may change. So for example, one stock exchange might put a net worth criteria of 300 crores, another stock exchange might have a net worth criteria of 500 crores.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody? Okay. In case no, so let's come back to the private equity. So what मैं जो मैंने रेड में लिखा था एक बार देख लीजिए. So private equity means when you're offering the shares of a company to a limited set of investors privately, you're not offering the shares to the public at large, which means the company can decide who will be allowed to invest into the share. Whereas in public offer, the company cannot say no to someone else who meets the eligibility criteria. And let me give you an example. For example, if today, let's say Imaticus. So Imaticus is a private company, correct? It's not a listed company in India. So suppose today Imaticus wants to expand and they need money. And let's suppose the owner of the Imaticus has decided, okay, they will take money from, let's assume, from investor A. But assume you come to know about this, Akansha comes to know about it, Sahil comes to know about it, and you go to the owner of the company and say we want to invest, and so that an owner has a right to say no, because the offer is not meant for the public, it's not meant for anybody, it's only specifically meant for the investor A. These type of investments are called as private equity because the equity, which is owner's fund, is raised privately, not from the public. That's why it's not called as public equity, it's called as private equity. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So which means these private equity investors are less liquid. What do you mean by less liquid? Because these are not listed on a stock exchange. Hence, if some investors invest into these companies, and these companies are private companies. So, for example, if suppose Akansha, you invest into a private company through private equity. Now you will not be able to sell the shares so easily in the market the way you can sell for a listed company, because for a listed company, you can just go to stock exchange and sell the shares. But in a private company, you will not be able to sell the shares on the stock exchange because the company is not listed on the stock exchange. So you need to find somebody who is willing to buy the shares from you. बट लिस्टेड कंपनी में वो आपको सर्च करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती बिकॉज स्टॉक एक्सचेंज के प्लेटफॉर्म पे वो सर्च हो जाता है. हेंस प्राइवेट इक्विटी इन्वेस्टमेंट इज लेस लिक्विड. लेस लिक्विड का मतलब है आसानी से बिकता नहीं है. यू आर नॉट एबल टू सेल इजीली इन द मार्केट. इज दिस पॉइंट क्लियर टू एवरीवन?
Yes, sir.
Hence, private equity is also a long-term investment because if you can't sell easily, which in turn means that you cannot sell in a short span of time. You need a long time and you need to hold for a longer period of time. Hence, these are generally called as long-term investments. Is this clear? Now,
Yes, sir.
I think we've discussed most of the points on the slide. So we've discussed that private equity is not for the public companies. It's medium to long-term investments. Okay. Now, the two concepts that we need to understand, one is called as limited partners and one is called as general partners. So let's understand this. Now, how does a private equity structure works? Now, so this is private equity firm. This is a private equity firm. Now, इस फर्म ने आगे इन्वेस्टमेंट किया हुआ डिफरेंट डिफरेंट कंपनीज में. So suppose this is company A, this is company B, ये company C. So private equity firm has invested into these three companies A, B, C. But ये private equity firm के पास पैसा कहाँ से आया? These are the different investors who has put money into this company. Remember mutual fund? How does a mutual fund work? Mutual fund is where individual investors put their money into mutual fund, and somebody sits on a mutual fund and decide where this money should be invested as a fund manager. Exactly same way the private equity works. And this is the person who then finally decide where you should make the investment. So this person who decides where you should invest and so on is called a general partner. And those who invest into this company, into this private equity company, are called as limited partners. And that's why these are called as investors. So read this. Investors in private equity firm is called as limited partners. And managers who manages private equity जो manage करता है उसको बोलते हैं general partners. कुछ doubt? This is important, guys. Please ask in case of any doubt.
Sir, hello, hello, Nishan sir.
And any questions, any doubt in this? Have you understood the concept of
Yes,
general partners and limited partners?
yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, Amit.
Yeah, sir. Let's suppose I want to phrase this thing in an example so that I can understand whether I understood it correct or not. Let's suppose there is a company ABC Private Limited, and there are two main directors or the investors, and who invested in the capital of the company. Then those two partners are called limited partners.
Not necessary. So
Mhm.
it's not about partners. So let's say if there are two partners, but the third person has also
Mhm.
invested some amount in that company, but that third person do not decide where this money should be deployed.
Okay.
But the first two partners or directors, as you said, decide they have invested the money, but they also decide they do
Mhm.
the decision making where the money should be invested. So the people who decide, who make those decisions, are called as general partners. People who have invested the money but do not decide, do not manage the fund, those are called as limited partners.
Okay. Okay, understood. Thank you, sir.
So the criteria is, are you managing the funds or are you the only investor? If you're the only investor but not managing the funds, not deciding, you will not be able to take those decisions, then you are only a limited partner. And that's the reason why you're called as limited partner. You are partner, but you have very limited capacity because you will not be able to take decisions for the company.
Okay,
Amit,
sir.
is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
सर
Yeah, Anjani.
सर अगर किसी कंपनी में मान लीजिए या पार्टनरशिप फर्म में एक पार्टनर है, ए और बी दो पार्टनर हैं, जिसमें से ए का ये को इन्वेस्टमेंट में कंट्रोल है, मतलब वो इन्वेस्ट ही कर रहा है, और दूसरी तरफ दूसरा जो है वो जनरल पार्टनर हो सकता है क्या?
Sorry, come again.
जैसे ए और बी पार्टनरशिप फर्म है कोई, वो किसी प्राइवेट इक्विटी में अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं तो वन कैन बी ए जनरल पार्टनर एंड अनदर कैन बी ए लिमिटेड पार्टनर, ऐसा हो सकता है क्या?
नहीं ना, दोनों लिमिटेड पार्टनर्स होंगे ना. if there is a partnership, if A and B has a partnership firm, तो जो इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रही है वो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे हो रही है कि पार्टनरशिप फर्म लेवल पे हो रही है?
इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे. इंडिविजुअल लेवल
इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे. देखो, इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे हो रही है तो पार्टनरशिप फर्म का कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है ना, फिर तो वो इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं.
ओके, ठीक ठीक है.
Anybody else? Any other doubt? Okay. So I take ये doubts नहीं है.
I have a question here, Nishant. Don't private equity funds also invest not just in private companies but also in public companies with the intention of taking them private?
Sorry, Akshay. I think it was a bad network. Could you repeat the question?
Yes. My question is not just in private companies but also in public companies with the intention of taking them private.
Sorry, Akshay. I think I still didn't get your question. I think I'm not sure whether the network is bad at my end or your end. If
Am I
you don't mind.
audible?
Yeah, you're audible, but your voice was I couldn't hear your complete question.
All right, let me just try again. The question was private equity funds are known for investing in private companies, but isn't
I
it
think
true
he's
that
trying to. Sorry, go on, please.
but isn't it true that they also invest in public companies with the intention of later taking them private?
Yeah, Akshay, sorry.
So don't private equity funds also invest in public companies with the intention of maybe taking them private later on?
So a private equity firm. So are you asking, does a private equity firm invest into public companies? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah. I mean, that was my understanding on the topic. As in, it's not just private companies that they invest in. I'm just trying to get a clarification. Don't they also invest in public companies with the intention of taking them private?
You're right. So private equity firm, they also invest into public company. But you need to understand, when a private equity firm makes an investment into public company, that's not called as private equity. because that equity funding is not in the capacity of a private investor. That investment, though it is being made by a private equity firm, but it is in the capacity or into the channel of public equity. Akshay, is that
Okay.
clear?
Yeah.
Similarly, suppose you make an investment into private company. You are not a private equity firm, but you're making an investment into a private company. Suppose your dad or your friend opens a private company and you make some investment. In spite of the fact you're not a private equity, sorry, you're not a private equity firm, but you're still making a small private investment into a private company. So this equity that you're investing for your dad or for your friend, that is still called as private equity.
Right.
So it's not about who is making the investment. It's about how the investment is being made. That decides whether it's a public equity or a private equity.
Right. But it is possible for them to invest in public companies initially,
Yes,
and
both
then
ways. Both ways.
right.
A private equity firm can invest into private companies as well, and they also invest into public companies as well. But if they invest into public company, as I said earlier, that investment will not be called as private equity. That will become a public equity.
Right. And the second question is there any minimum investment required in case of private equity?
Is there a minimum
investment such
Yash,
as
sorry, Yash,
financial
can you go on?
threshold?
Akshay, hold on. Yash, can you go on mute? I will come back to you. Let me first complete Akshay question because there's a lot of background noise coming from your side. Yeah, thanks, Yash. Yeah, go, Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah. So is there any minimum threshold of investment in private equity companies? Sorry, private equity firms. For example, which is why it's not accessible to all.
No, so I'm just trying to understand when you say minimum investment, you're saying minimum investment is what? Minimum investment to start the private equity firm or minimum
No,
investment for a private equity firm to invest into the other company?
Right. For them, the second, the latter.
No,
Is
there's no minimum criteria. They can invest with 1 rupee as well. But the point is, they will not invest with 1 rupee because the kind of a risk and the kind of an effort, the kind of research that they do will not justify a very small investment amount. It's like this. मैं इतना effort करके इतना मेहनत करके अगर 10 रुपए invest करूंगा तो 10 रुपए में जो return आएगा that will not justify my effort and return, my effort and time.
Right. So I'm just trying to understand the reason. The reason it's called private equity is because the public at large cannot afford investing such.
No, Akshay, that's not the way it has to be. As I said, so I give you an example. Suppose if your friend opens a new private company and you decide to invest into your friend's business, you have an excess. You are a small investor, but still that will be called as private equity. The reason of calling it a private equity is not because somebody can't have an excess. The reason of calling that equity is a private equity because it's not open for everybody. It's only being made available privately to a selected set of investors.
All right, got it.
Okay.
So affordability is in the criteria, eligibility is. Yeah?
Affordability from a theoretical perspective is not a criteria. Practically, affordability becomes one of those criteria because if a private equity firm decides, okay, $1 million or 1 CR is the minimum ticket size.
Right.
So of course, the people falling less than this ticket size will practically will not be eligible to get into this. But theoretically, from a book perspective, from a rule book perspective, there's no criteria like this.
All right, thanks.
तो banks में भी है ना, for example, जैसे आप SBI में जाओगे, you can open a savings account in SBI with 1,000 rupee transaction, 1,000 rupees balance. In ICICI, it's around 10,000 rupees. If you go to Citibank, it's around 5 lakh rupees. So again, it's all three give you different services and they charge you differently, correct? It's a commercial aspect rather than a theoretical concept, and that's what I'm trying to give you practically. They are a ticket transaction size which each of the companies, depending upon the size and the scale at which they operate, they keep those commercial thresholds for them to decide किस client पे कितना focus करना है.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
Not from me, man. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Yash, go ahead.
Sir, if the investment made by general partners, so in that case we are उन्हें क्या कहेंगे?
Sorry.
Hello, I'm saying that if there is an investment by uh, general partners in the private equity fund, then what would we say?
So general partners are those who manages the fund, and those who manages the fund generally do not invest in their own fund. So it is possible that if you are managing a fund, so for that fund you become a general partner, but you might put your money into some other fund. But for that other fund, you will not be general partner, you will be limited partner. But you will not be able to put your own funds into the fund which you are yourself managing. Yes, is that clear? Yes.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yes, have we interacted earlier? Your voice seems to be very familiar. Hello? Yes, you're there? I think I lost you. Yeah. No issue.
Yes, sir.
So,
It's clear, sir. Clear, sir.
no, what
It's
I was
clear.
asking, okay, thanks. Have we interacted anytime earlier? Because I think your voice seems to be very familiar voice. Have we interacted earlier? Okay, no issues. So any other question, guys? Anybody else? Any other question? Are we clear with the general partners and limited partner concept into private equity? Okay, so I take that no more questions. So now, in terms of the types of private equities, now one type of a private equity or category of the private equity is called as angel investors. Now, suppose you're starting a new business. Uh, it's a new business, it's a startup business. It's a complicated, not complicated. It's a risky business because you're starting something new. So there's a possibility nobody will give you money because you're starting something which is new. It's a new concept, new idea. Think of something like this. 10 years back, if somebody would have thought of an e-commerce business and would have come to you for an investment, probably would have not uh, probably you would not have convinced so easily because you would have thought, okay, e-commerce doesn't work in India, correct? In India, people would like to feel and touch and then they will buy the products, correct? Especially the products like clothes, shoes, and stuff like this. But things have changed, correct now. So that's the reason why the business ideas or the startup companies which do not get funds from investors who do not have very high risk appetite, so they reject those proposals. And these angel investors are those type of private equity investors who have higher risk appetite, and hence they put up their hand or they are willing to invest into such kind of a higher risky projects or higher risky businesses, and hence these are called as angel investors. It's like this: nobody is willing to help these companies, but these companies come at, as an angel to them and rescue and make the investment. Hence these are called as an angel investors. Any doubt in this?
Sir, sir, hello, sir, hello, hello, Nishan, sir. Hello.
Yes, I'll go ahead.
So I do not have any doubt here, but I just want to clarify one point. So was the Sequoia Capital angel investor in case of Zomato and Zoomcar?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay. And sir, one more question, not related to this particularly. So Sequoia Capital is not is a US-based PE firm. So they have, their private limited company based in India. So are the private limited company, a private limited company based out of US PE funds are able to invest in Indian companies? And if yes,
Yes.
how much they can, or take the ownership?
They can invest subject to the SEBI rules and the approvals.
So can they take majority stake?
It again depends upon the approval that they get. So if they get an approval to invest into majority stake, yes, they can. But generally, they do not get They do not get those approvals so easily to invest majority stake. That's the reason the
So
transaction that you're referring. Yeah, go ahead.
one more example, just to clarify my doubt. So, sir, in case of Zivame, Unilever was a major stakeholder.
Correct.
So that is a PE fund.
Correct, but they got the approval, correct? So I'm not saying it's not allowed. I'm saying that the approvals needs to be sought from SEBI.
Okay. So it not based on the Indian, whether it is a Indian PE firm that is investing or not, okay, that based on the regulation, on only on the approval.
Yeah.
So it is a sector specific approval they get. So for example, in FMCG, I think plan is to get 100% FDI.
Correct. So into the FMCG, into retail, it's an automatic route. Even it's not an approval. So what do you mean automatic route? You don't need an approval. There are certain sectors which are prohibited, like banking sector, stuff like this.
And
Insurance
different
sector.
lastly
And that's
opened.
the reason yeah. And there are certain sectors which are prohibited. There are certain sectors which fall under automatic route. And the third category is the approval route. Where
So, and what do we call the list that that contains the prohibited sectors? It is a red list, or what we called it?
it's called as prohibited. No, not permitted. Prohibited list.
Okay. Okay.
इसमें आपके बैंकिंग मिलेंगे, फार्मा है, देन आपका डिफेंस है, इंश्योरेंस है, ये सब कंपनीज हैं जो आपको इस कैटेगरी में. Okay, now
sir,
yeah, go ahead.
सर बैंकिंग से लेके लेकिन डाउट इसमें अभी अराइज हो गया मेरे माइंड में you know about IndusInd Bank. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Hinduja Group, which is based in London. So how are they operating it as in India if there is a prohibited list on banking?
No, so IndusInd Bank is an incorporated entity in India. It's not an entity which is floated outside India and brought money into India.
Okay.
So IndusInd Bank doesn't operate like a Citibank. Citibank, that's the reason Citibank is called as an MNC bank, but IndusInd Bank is called as Indian Private Sector Bank.
Okay.
The investor might be based out of outside India, but the company in which the money is being invested, that the legal entity that's being created is an Indian entity.
Okay.
It's like your parents might be NRI, but you hold a passport of India as an Indian resident.
Got your point, sir.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Do the limited partners have a say over the investments made by the general partners?
No.
In the kind of companies that the money is being invested in?
No, they don't. And that's the reason it's called a limited partner. So what happens at the time of an investment, limited partners are being told about the theme or probably the broad objective which the general partners have to apply. So something like this. So if a private equity firm is being created, and let's assume you are a limited partner and you're thinking of investing into my private equity firm. So I will tell you, okay, I will invest into real estate and pharma companies or real estate and tech companies. That's it. Now,
All right.
this is the only thing which I will tell you broad. Now, into real estate, whether I select company A, whether I select company B, whether I select company C, is not what you will be able to drive on.
Okay.
That's a call. That's a call that has to be taken by a general partner.
All right.
And actually, by the name itself, so for example, if you and me start a partnership firm, and you are 50% investor and a 50% investor, what does this mean? You have 50% decision making powers, correct? And I have 50% decision making power. That's the way partnership firm works, correct?
Right.
But if I add a word limited partner, what does this mean? Limited partner ka matlab kya hua?
Rights are
You are a
limited.
partner, but your rights are limited. Now, what right is limited? Your rights of taking decision is not there. Hence,
Right.
you are partner in a capacity of a limited partner. That's why you're called as limited partner.
Right.
Which is very much in private equity, not in a general partnership firm.
Right.
And
Thanks.
it's not about the percentage of the stake. So suppose if the private equity firm pool is 100 crores and you have invested 80 crores, 80, you still hold majority of the pool, correct? But still you will be limited partner.
All right.
Or out of 100 crore, even if you invest 1 crore, which is 1%, still you will be called as limited partner. So the categorization of a limited partner is not based on your percentage stake into the pool or into the fund. It's about whether you are acting as an investor, whether you are acting as a fund manager. Fund manager means the person who takes those decisions.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Any other question, guys? This is important. That's why I'm happy to take more questions or queries, if any.
So I had this doubt on the angel concept of angel.
Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, as you stated that it's basically kind of startup. So how are they helping hand to the investment decisions? I did not get that.
No, I didn't understand the question. You're saying it's a startup, no, question समझ नहीं आया.
So I think I forgot my question. It was basically that you mentioned the startups are like the angel category of this whole thing. So how they are also helping hand for the investment bankers.
No, this is not what I said. What I said, the angel investors generally act as these investors act as an angel for startups. And how does it work? If you're starting a new company or a new business idea which has never been tested in Indian markets, you go to a traditional investor, you go to banks. So these banks will not give money because your idea is very new. Because your idea is new, it's very risky idea. Hence, the traditional investor, the investor which have a low risk appetite, will not put money into this new concept which is risky. Akansha, are you with me till this point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You might go to 10 banks and everybody will reject your proposal. Now you go to, let's say, an investor. After you got rejection from first 10 investors, you go to the 11th investor, and then the 11th investor agrees to invest. Is that investor not an angel for you?
Yes, sir.
So that's why these investors are called as angel investors, because these type of investors are those investors who are willing to invest into startups, who are willing to invest into more risky businesses where the other typical or traditional investors are not willing to invest.
So I have one question on that.
1 minute, Yash. Akansha.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Yeah, Yash.
So in that case, जो new idea होगा वो through IB firm pitch होगा angel investors को, या we can directly put into the angel investors the idea that we have.
Theoretically आप directly भी कर सकते हो, but practically हमारे through जाते हैं, because अगर आप अगर आप एक बिग टिकट ट्रांजैक्शन करना चाहते हो तो आपको इंडिविजुअली कोई एंटरटेन नहीं करेगा अनलेस यू आर बैक्ड बाय एन इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक।
if
अगर
sir अगर IB
अगर
firm
अगर एक छोटा सा इन्वेस्टमेंट है 5-6 करोड़ का तो जनरली हम लिखता इन्वॉल्व नहीं होते, बट इफ दीज आर बिग इन्वेस्टमेंट जनरली शूटेड थ्रू अस थ्रू इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक।
okay, if IB firms reject the idea that we have in our minds, then what could we do with the angels?
नहीं, so I think फिर तो problem है
For
because
example, if one of my friend have an idea of a Zomato earlier, he is passed from IIM and then he put into the angel. अगर IB firm में reject कर दो उस केस में क्या होगा? Is this possible for me to go directly to the angels or something else?
देखो, as I told you, if a client comes to us, or let's say if a proposal comes to us and we are investment banks and we are evaluating the proposal and we are rejecting the proposal after analysis, the important thing is what's the reason of the rejection. Now the reason of the rejection could be a commercial reason. मैं आपको बोलता हूँ मैं 10% लूंगा, बट आप कहते नहीं 10% नहीं दूंगा मैं, as my fees. So I'm rejecting not because I didn't like the idea. I'm rejecting because I want X amount of money to provide you consultancy. You're not willing to pay me fees, and hence I'm rejecting it. That could be one way to look at it. The another way to look at it is I am preoccupied. I do not have a time right now to work on this deal. ये generally होता नहीं है, but I'm just trying to put you on. Third is I'm conflicted. Majorly ये होता है हमारे साथ. I'm conflicted. Okay, I don't know whether you understand what conflicting concepts or not, but we'll talk about this when we reach to that stage. That sometimes what happens for a very heavy ticket side transaction, we realize that we are on the conflicting side. Okay, where we have a similar transaction from the both sides, from buy side and from sell side. Hence, we fall in the conflict situation, and we have to generally reject one of the sides. ठीक है, इसको डिस्कस बाद में करेंगे. The fourth scenario could be कि I honestly do not like the idea, and if I do not like the idea, would I be able to pitch to the investor? The answer is no. But in that case, generally we don't reject. We work with the client that these are the limitations, drawbacks, or loopholes into this idea. Let's plug these ideas. And once we plug those ideas, then we go to the investors for pitching that idea, which has become more stronger idea now. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes, getting your point. Yes, sir. Getting your point. Hello.
Understood.
Getting sir.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
ठीक है. The second is the venture capital firms. Now, the venture capital firms are, so let me I have that slide. No. Okay. So venture capital firm means Again, these are those investments. These are those private equity firm, those type of private equity firm who generally again have a relatively higher risk appetite, but they 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 behave in a more professional way vis-a-vis angel investors. So what does that mean? That angel investors are generally like individuals कि एक बार पैसा लगा दिया and they do not get involved into day-to-day working of the businesses. But the professional venture capitalists are those kind of firms which will not only invest the money, but they will become very active in your business. They will bring all your they will bring all their contacts, all their expertise. आपके business को grow करने की वो हर कोशिश करेंगे, आपको strategy में help करेंगे, आपको business development में help करेंगे, contacts लेके आएंगे, सब कुछ जो उनकी capacity में सब कुछ आपके लिए ले आएंगे. Those are called as venture capital firm. Whereas an angel investor generally act as an individual कि आपको पैसा दे दिया, वो पीछे रहेगा, पैसे दिए, fund करा, will act like a sleeping partner. Whereas a venture capital will work like a very aggressive and active partner. Guys, have you understood what is venture capital firms? Okay. Now, private equity मैंने आपको बता दिया. Yes, we're done with the angel investor, we're done with the venture capital, we're done with the private equity. What is hedge fund? Hedge funds are very similar to mutual fund, and we discussed mutual fund in the last class. The difference, the big difference between hedge fund and a mutual fund is that the hedge fund operates at a very high level or high scale vis-a-vis a mutual fund. Second, the mutual funds generally do not invest into too risky asset classes, but the hedge fund have an appetite for investing into more risky investments or more risky asset classes. These are the two main differences between hedge fund and mutual fund. Otherwise, it's pretty similar. The hedge fund works very similar to the way mutual fund works. Any doubt on this slide?
Hello.
Yeah, Isha.
Sir, can you please repeat hedge funds?
So, you know what is mutual fund? We discussed in the last class.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. And how does mutual fund work? What is mutual fund?
Hello.
Yeah, Isha, what is mutual fund?
Sir, I'm not getting your voice properly.
Isha, what is mutual fund?
Okay. Mutual funds are the funds where number of investors are invest in particularly one fund. That is mutual.
Correct. So mutual fund is where the individual investors or a lot of investors pool their money. The money is being collected, and the person sits on that corpus, which is called as fund manager, and that person decides where to invest that money. When the person invests the money into the market, the returns comes back. The person deducts his fees and commission, and the remainder or the amount left over after deducting fees and commission is being distributed in a proportionate basis to these original underlying investors.
Okay, sir.
So that is mutual fund. Now, what is hedge fund? Exactly same चीज. The difference है कि mutual fund छोटे level पे काम करता है, hedge fund थोड़े बड़े level पे काम करता है. Level means the size of the transaction, the value of the investment they play. And the second and the most important difference is the mutual fund generally invest into less risky asset classes, but the hedge fund invest into more risky asset classes. Isha?
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, moving further, so who all invest into private equity firms? These are the different types of investors who invest into private equity firms. Pension funds, you know what is pension funds? So government companies में employees की salary से एक portion deduct किया जाता है जो pension की form में दिया जाता है. So think of an organization who are deducting every year from their employee salary और उनको 50 years 40 years के बाद वो पैसा पे करना है. तो 50 years 40 years तो वो पैसे को क्या करते हैं? वो 50-40 years तक वो पैसे को यहाँ पे फंड PE फर्म में इन्वेस्ट कर देते हैं. एंडोमेंट्स, इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी में आप पॉलिसी लेते हैं, एंडोमेंट पॉलिसी देखा होगा आपने, आप प्रीमियम भरते रहते हो सालों तक, उस प्रीमियम का क्या होता है? यहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया जाता है. ठीक है. फाउंडेशंस, बैंक्स, HNI कौन होते हैं? वो इंडिविजुअल जिनके पास ज्यादा, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक्स, कॉर्पोरेट, जिनके पास भी ज्यादा सरप्लस पैसा होता है, दे इन्वेस्ट इनटू दिस प्राइवेट इक्विटी इफ दे वांट. तो उन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किया, all these investors can invest into private equity firm, and this private equity firm in turn can invest into actual companies. Then these companies are called as limited partners. Is this clear?
Sir, I have a doubt here.
Yes, sir.
Sir, in investors, you have mentioned investment banks, but in the first clause, you told that investment banks are very limited capital capacity to lend funds. So they use. So how could investment bank invest their own funds? Wouldn't
So
be
when limited capital bola tha, limited capital means if they want, they can invest to the extent of the limited capital. Limited capital does not mean they can't invest.
Okay. And sir, also a doubt related to last topic. Sir, you said that venture capital is an active partner in a business. So how do they manage the with business? Because as you know, as far as I know, SoftBank invested in Oyo, and still Ritesh is Oyo's MD and CEO. So do they appoint independent director?
It's not about the MD, correct? The MD might still remain to be the promoter, founder or the promoter, because he is the face of the organization. And also sometimes the company itself might not need a contact. See, Oyo is not at a stage where they need contacts. Oyo, I don't know how much you understand Oyo transaction. The Oyo currently is not struggling because they need contacts. They're not struggling because they need a strategy helping hand. They're struggling because they need funds. But tomorrow, think of a scenario, you come with a business idea, but for you to become a big and successful organization, you need contacts. But you don't have those contacts. Then the venture capital will not only bring money into your organization, but also will help you to get connected with those people, which Oyo might not need as of now.
Okay. So, but still there are some directors in its board from SoftBank.
Correct. Which will be there, correct? Which will be there because they will be acting as an active partner, but I might still might keep the MD as my original founder. So I'm nowhere saying that venture capital will not have their directors in the board, because if they need to act as an active partner, they need to keep their representative in the board of the company. And that's what has happened with the software for OU transaction. But I might still I might not remove the original MD or director or promoter of the company.
So is there any way VC can take over the board, control the company?
They can. The VC invests more than 50% stake into the organization, they take over the board.
Okay. Or if any other investor sells shares to VC.
Which in turn means more than 50%, correct?
Okay.
Anji, anybody else, any other question? Okay. Then what do you mean by fund of fund? Now fund of fund means these investors invest into a private equity, and that private equity in turn invests into another private equity, which in turn invests into the companies. Then the first private equity is called as fund of fund, because they are not investing directly into the company, they are investing into another fund, which in turn is investing into original company. These are called as fund of fund. Any doubt?
Hello.
Yeah.
So the basic idea behind the PE fund, mutual fund, and REIT is the same, that they take contributions from individuals and they invest in the business managed by professionals.
This is one of the similarity, but there are other differences. The way mutual fund works is primarily for retail investors, and the way private equity works is primarily for non-retail investors. So the
But there has
structure
to be
might,
some underlying asset.
yeah, so the asset would still remain same, correct? The asset would still remain the same, the underlying shares of those companies. But the segment at which these are targeted are different. Mutual funds are targeted more to facilitate retail savings and retail investments. Private equity is being created to facilitate more HNI savings and HNI investments.
And similarly, REIT is also a nice product.
REIT is nothing but is a type of a mutual fund which invests into real estate, correct? So for
Real
me,
estate.
that's not a different product. That's again an example of the mutual fund. उस लॉजिक से तो इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड की भी बात करनी चाहिए, फिक्स इनकम म्यूचुअल फंड की बात करनी चाहिए अगर आप रीट को एक प्रोडक्ट मान रहे हैं तो म्यूचुअल
The
फंड के
difference
अंडर ही
between
रीट आता है.
there is a physical asset other in
क्या फिजिकल
mutual
एसेट?
fund. So physical asset in REIT is real estate.
किसने कहा? अगर मैं एक म्यूचुअल फंड कंपनी फिजिकल एसेट में नहीं क्रिएट कर रही है और उस रियल एस्टेट कंपनी के शेयर्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रही है तो कोई फिजिकल एसेट क्रिएट नहीं हुए ना, फिर भी रीट ही रहेगा ना. They can invest into physical asset does not mean they invest only in physical asset when it comes to REIT. And similarly, with that logic, they are gold mutual funds which invest into gold. So does that mean they become REIT because they're investing into physical assets?
Because the underlying asset in that is commodity. So and REIT is real estate. So I was reading about this Mindspace REIT that is come day out this week. So then I read about all the prospects of REIT and how it is managed and all. So I found it similar to mutual fund. The only difference being is their underlying asset is real estate, whereas mutual fund there are securities.
Correct. So this has nothing to do with the physical securities what you mentioned earlier, correct? हाँ, so वो गलती है, वहाँ पे गलत थे आप. If mutual fund is about securities, REIT is about real estate. Now it could be in a physical form, it could be in a non-physical form, but still,
How
as
could
long
be
as
in a non-physical form, sir?
a mutual fund can invest into only the shares of a real estate company.
Okay. So if I bought a SBI fund and it invests in only in DLF. And
yes.
Okay.
So REIT ही हो गया ना.
Sorry.
Scenario 2, a mutual fund buys the property और उस प्रॉपर्टी के रेंट जो है वो रिटर्न हो जाता है. ये फिजिकल इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है. But both are REIT.
Okay.
So REIT is real estate investment trust where the trust is getting returns from the real estate investments. Now this could be physical form or any other form. Okay. Any doubt on this slide, guys? Are we clear with fund of fund?
सर
Yeah, Anjani.
ये रिप्लेसमेंट कैपिटल स्पेशल सिचुएशन और बाईआउट्स एक बार डिस्कस कर लीजिए प्लीज।
ये तो मैंने बताया नहीं, बताऊंगा मैं आपको। सो ये वाली साइड मैंने बताई नहीं है, सॉरी। इश्यूज वाली साइड ये बतानी बाकी है। सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, एनी डाउट ऑन दिस साइड? राइट कॉलम को छोड़ के कुछ डाउट है बिफोर आई गो टू राइट कॉलम? Okay, just know. So let me now explain each of these. So the first is seed. Seed is a seed financing startup. Both these are similar. कि आपके पास एक बिजनेस आइडिया है, करेक्ट, यू आर डेवलपिंग दैट आइडिया। बिजनेस स्टार्ट भी नहीं हुआ, सिर्फ आइडिया डेवलप करो। उस आइडिया को डेवलप करने के लिए, जैसे एक प्लांट आप जब ग्रो करते हो तो फर्स्ट आप यू पुट योर सीड, you put the seeds for the plant, and then the plant starts the root starts coming in, and it comes in the shape of a plant. That's the exactly same thing. You have some business idea in your head, but उस idea को थोड़ा develop करने के लिए आपको पैसे की जरूरत है। तो this private equity can give you money for that seed stage. उसको seed financing बोलते हैं। They can give you money for a startup where you have your seed has become a plant, but it's still very small plant, and that becomes a startup. So they give money for the seed financing, for the startup, and for the expansion. Any doubt in first three, guys? Anjani, is that clear? First three?
Yes, sir.
Replacement capital is, for example, there's a company in which private equity firm A has invested. Now A wants to exit. So A exit करना चाहता है, उसकी जगह B आ जाएगा. So what will happen? Overall, company's capital will still remain, but A's capital will get replaced with B's capital. That's called as replacement capital. There is no expansion that's happening. It's only a replacement of one investor with the other investor. So private equity वो भी करता है. Anjani, is replacement capital clear?
यस सर। तो सर इसमें ये तो चांसेस हो सकते हैं ना कि जैसे बबल क्रिएट हो जाए कि एक ने खरीदा, दूसरे ने रिप्लेस किया, फिर तीसरे ने फिर उससे एनहांस्ड वर्जन पे रिप्लेस किया अमाउंट पे। मतलब
वो पॉसिबल है, वो तो कहीं भी पॉसिबल है। वो तो आज इक्विटी शेयर मार्केट में भी पॉसिबल है। आपने 10 रुपीज का शेयर खरीदा, आपने 10 का 12 में बेच दिया, 12 का 15 में बेच दिया, वो रिस्क तो है ही। वो रिस्क आप रन कर रहे हो, एंड दैट्स द रिस्क दैट एवरीबॉडी रन्स इन द इक्विटी मार्केट। Correct, and that's why equity market is called as a risky market, correct?
Okay.
And Anjani, that's the reason it's very important for you to understand valuation. Because if you know the concepts of valuation, the objective of the valuation is that you are able to value the assets before you purchase at right price, so that you don't end up in buying a 10 rupee worth asset at 20 rupees. That's what the bubble is. So I don't know in terms of valuation, but then when we get to level 2, you will we will have those sessions. So if this batch continues with me, so probably when we reach to that stage, I will take those. We'll talk about those valuation stuffs. Special situation. So special situations is any special circumstances. For example, you are suffering through losses, very similar to OYO example. You're going through bad time. You need money to survive, and then you bring private equity to survive or to take care of your existing loans on your balance sheet. Something like those are all special situations. Buyout, you want to buy out any other company, you want to take over any other company. We discussed M&A in the last class. And for that you need funds, and then the private equity comes and starts funding. So that's called as buyout. Yes. Any doubt on this slide, inclusive of the right side column?
Nishant, in the CFA curriculum, what I remember learning was that seed capital investing is done by private equity firms for product development and market research rather than idea generation. I believe what I had learned, I don't know if it's right, but there's a stage prior. I think the angel investing is the phase where they invest in idea generation, or is that also part of seed capital investing, or is that the next step? Before
Sorry?
commercial production, of course.
Sorry, actually, could you repeat your question?
Yeah, my question is, it's not exactly a question, it's a doubt. In the CFA curriculum, what I had learned was that angel investors are the ones who invest in idea generation and assessment of market potential and such, whereas seed capital investing is for product development and market research. Basically, it's the next step after angel investing. Is that right, or is it vice versa?
It's very fluid, correct? It's what you're saying theoretically right, but in practical terms, it's very fluid. So when
Okay.
you say seed financing, you need to understand what is seed financing. Seed financing is so what will happen? Whether the seed financing will happen first or
Angel
startup.
investor. Yeah, sorry.
No, so what I'm trying to explain to you, the angel investor can happen at the seed stage as well. So what is angel investor? Akshay?
Well, what my understanding was that when funds are obtained from known individuals, as you mentioned, for the purpose of idea generation, and when there's no as such uh, commercial viability has not been established yet, so it's basically for idea generation and studying the market and assessing the potential of the business.
Okay, so now let's assume. So you come with a business idea, and you reach out to 10 banks, the example that I gave earlier, and everybody is rejected. Everybody is rejected not because there is no potential in your idea. They have rejected because they believe this idea is too new or too risky for this market, because it's not yet been tested and tried into this market, and hence those 10 traditional investors have rejected your idea. Akshay, you're with me till this, please?
Yeah.
Now suppose you come to me, I'm the 11th investor, and you made a presentation to me and I like the idea. Now will I be an angel investor for you?
That's what I'm trying to make a distinction between the two.
No, answer this question. So irrespective of whether you're at a seed stage or whether any stage, will I be an angel for you? Choड़ the concepts,
Yes,
leave the financial concept. Will I be an angel? Will I be an angel for you? Because nobody was helping you. I came as an angel. What is angel? Angel is something who comes and start helping you. फरिश्ता बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में.
Right.
Correct. So I would turn out to be an angel for you, because nobody was willing to help you, but I am happy to put my money on you.
So that is irrespective of the stage of the business.
Exactly. This is the way the real world works. But theoretically, जो आपने बोला is what's being mentioned in the book, but that's not the way it works.
Right.
Now,
Thanks.
of course, now let's take this forward. Now, the angel investor generally would come at a stage of seed and a market development, because एक बार seed से plant बन गया and the market development has been tested and been proven, उसके बाद जो investors आते हैं, they're not taking too much of risk, correct? So, which means the traditional investor will also step in because the risk has come down now.
Right.
But let's take this further, because we've done some transaction, again I will not take those names, but we've done those transactions where after market development, after research, after stuff like this, the risk has not come down. Risk still remains at pretty much at the same level. And then the new investors were coming in, still qualifies to be an angel investor.
Oh, okay.
Have you understood this practical part?
Yeah.
This is the way it works on the practical side, and that's why I said what is important for you to understand what you will read in the books is not exactly the way the practical market works.
Okay.
But conceptually still remains same, but it's fluid, correct? The concept that you need to understand, underlying principle is the angel investors are those who are willing to take a risk little more than a traditional investor. Now it could happen at a seed stage, it could happen any other stages as well, but the higher probability of that higher risk is more at the seed or initial stages, because uske baad, as you go along in the product life cycle, generally the risk starts coming down.
Right.
Akshay, you with me?
Yes. Yeah, Nishan.
Okay. Any other doubt, guys, on this slide before I move to the next slide?
Replacement capital.
Sorry? Replacement capital. Replacement capital is, suppose if Akshay starts a new company and I have invested money into Akshay's company and I'm a private equity, and my terms and condition is, Akshay, I will exit after 5 years. Now it is 5th year. Now Akshay goes to you, Chahat, and says, one of my private equity investor, which is Nishant, wants to exit. Uska tenure khatam ho raha hai. Can you come and replace his funds? So I will exit and you will step in. Now this funding for Akshay is a replacement capital.
Okay. That A would be replaced by C, but the capital would be the same.
Yes. It could be same or it could be higher also, but the
Minimum capital has to be the same.
yes. तभी replace होगा ना. अगर मेरा 100 crores invest है, so you might bring 120 crores, but 100 crores, the objective of bringing 100 crores is the replacement, and another 20 crores could be expansion.
And some buyouts.
So in this
See, Akshay,
example, I'm sorry to interrupt. In this example that you just mentioned, for replacement capital, would the replacement be done via me, or would it be done directly through you and Chahat?
Both ways.
Both ways. Okay.
Could work out to be both ways. I can tell you that I am not looking out to exit. You told me that after 5 years I can exit. I will exit. Now it's your lookout.
Right.
ये theory है, practical terms में ऐसे नहीं होता. Practical terms में both will get along because they know it's there in the best interest if they work together. Because if they fight, they will get a less value in the market.
Right.
So real terms में कैसे होता है? The a private equity investor will approach an investment banker saying that I want to exit. This is a potential. Can you help me with some potential new investor? And that's where we chip in and we start bringing those potential investors on the board, and then the negotiation discussion happens. Akshay?
Got it, Nishant. Thanks.
Yeah, Chahat, sorry. You were asking, I think, second question, kuch aap pooch rahe the when Akshay entered. Sorry, yeah, buyout. So buyout is Akshay is running a company, and suppose he decides to, it's a private company. Akshay is running a private company. Akshay decides to buy out a new company, acquire another company, another private company. Or the acquisition cost is 100 crores. Out of 100 crores, let's say 60 crores, a private equity brings 60 crores, and then that 60 crores, which is being funded by a private equity, is called as buyout funds. Because that funding is being given to buy another company.
Okay, sir.
Anything else on this slide?
So somebody is asking for endowment details.
Sorry?
Somebody is asking for endowment investors side.
Endowment investment. So endowment investment, as explained earlier, I don't know अगर आपने सुना, endowment policies होती है, endowment insurance policies होती है. Endowment insurance policies क्या होती है? आप प्रीमियम पे करते रहते हो और दैट्स यू पे प्रीमियम फॉर 40 years, और 40 years के बाद पैसा मिलता है. एक होता है लाइफ पॉलिसी. लाइफ पॉलिसी मींस डेथ पे पैसा मिलता है, that the policy holder will be paid the amount on the death of the policy holder. Sorry, the nominee of the policy holder will receive the money on the death of the policy holder. Endowment क्या होते हैं? That you take a policy for 40 years or 50 years depending upon the tenure. You take policy and you continue to pay premium, and you will get return on the end of the maturity. That the return payment is not dependent on the death of the policy holder. It's dependent on the completion of the tenure. That's called as endowment policies. So ऐसे funds होते हैं जो endowment policies run करते हैं. ऐसे insurance companies होते हैं जो endowment policies करती है. So वहाँ पे बहुत, so the premium are being paid by the client for 40 years, 50 years. So what they will do for this money for so long? So for 30 years, 40 years, they are getting premium, and they can't sit on this premium. What they do, they go and invest into these private equity firms. So think like this: who all will invest into private equity firms? Two criteria. First, you need to have big money, large sum of money, and second, you need to have money for a long period of time. Then only the private equity can generate return for you. If you give 100 rupees to private equity for next 2 days, that's not where the private equity will work for you. You need to give them few crores for, suppose, another 10 years. then the private equity will generate a return for you. I don't know who raised this question on endowment, but have I answered this? Any further doubts in endowment? Any question, guys, please?
Yeah, just a general query. Would private equity investors earn any dividend on their investments?
Sorry, private?
Would the private equity investors, would they be earning any form of dividend or any other monetary? Okay.
Yeah, they will. So the dividend is a return for an equity investor, is not a return for only public equity investor. So as long as you're an equity investor, be it a private, be it a public, you have same right or entitlement to receive dividend if declared by the company.
Right.
Any other doubts?
Sir,
I
I
have a
was
question.
asking,
Yeah, Megha, go ahead.
one example on special situation.
An example on special situation, the example that we discussed about OYO. So in case you're not aware about the OYO transactions, let me give you a more generic example to you. So for example, you're running a company and you're incurring losses. You don't need money for expansion. You don't need money for startup. You don't need money for your seed business. You don't need money for buy out the company. Okay, but you need money to handle the special situation, which means you are into losses and you need money to survive. So that's where the special situation comes in. Special situation means any situation other than what is mentioned on that column.
Okay.
Yes, I.
So my question was, you said that in private equity, the investor also on dividend like the public investor does. So, sir, in P, the company, the investor have a larger stake. Aren't they entitled to the profit share, or they are just entitled to dividend?
अरे ये वो इन्वेस्टर नहीं है जो अक्षय ने पूछा. अक्षय ने पूछा एक प्राइवेट कंपनी है. अक्षय एक प्राइवेट कंपनी क्रिएट करता है, उसमें तूने और मैंने इन्वेस्ट किया, तो हम प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर हैं कि नहीं है? हमें डिविडेंड मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा? दैट वाज द क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम अक्षय. अक्षय करेक्ट?
हमें
यस
सर हमें तो प्रॉफिट शेयर मिलेगा ना.
अरे प्रॉफिट शेयर कैसे मिलेगा? डिविडेंड की फॉर्म में ही मिलेगा ना.
ओके, बेस्ड ऑन शेयर होल्डर. ठीक है.
कैसे मिलेगा? प्रॉफिट शेयर, प्रॉफिट 100 रुपए प्रॉफिट हुआ तो 100 रुपए का आपको 10 रुपए मिलेगा. वो 10 रुपए को क्या बोलते हैं?
बट सर पब्लिक लिमिटेड कंपनी में तो बोर्ड डिसाइड करता है कि कितना डिविडेंड देना है. बट अगर इसमें अगर हम खुद ही बोर्ड है.
प्राइवेट कंपनी में बोर्ड नहीं होता क्या?
हाँ इसमें, हाँ ठीक है, होता है.
फिर सेम चीज है ना. वहां पे भी बोर्ड डिसाइड करेगा, यहाँ पे भी बोर्ड डिसाइड करेगा. हाउ डज इट
पर
डिफर?
यहाँ पे बोर्ड में तो इन्वेस्टर खुद ही मेंबर है ना.
may or may not you are assuming this.
नहीं, जनरल पार्टनर members of the board होते हैं usually, I guess.
May not necessary, Akshay, not necessary. So for example, so suppose if Akshay is running a company which is a private company, और assume total equity investment is 100 rupees और मेरा उसमें 1 रुपये, तो I might not qualify for a board. और साहिल तेरा उसमें 50 रुपए लगा हुआ है और 49 रुपीज अक्षय का लगा हुआ है, तो probably Akshay and Sahil might sit on the board. I might not be sitting in the board in spite of the fact I'm a private equity investor. Whether you will come into the board or not will depend upon आपने कितना stake लिया उस company के अंदर. If you have a higher stake, you have a higher probability of getting into the board. If you have a lower stake, you will not qualify for the board. सेम कॉन्सेप्ट प्राइवेट में भी है, सेम कॉन्सेप्ट पब्लिक कंपनी में भी है. आज आपने रिलायंस के शेयर्स खरीदे हुए, तो आउट ऑफ 1 लाख शेयर अगर आपने 2 शेयर खरीद ले, विल यू बी एबल टू गेट इनटू द बोर्ड ऑफ द कंपनी? नो, बिकॉज आपके पास कोई स्टेक ही नहीं है कंपनी में हाँ ना करने का. सेम प्राइवेट कंपनी. साहिल कंफ्यूजन का है.
थोड़ी सी कंफ्यूजन इस बात में. सपोज एक कंपनी है, प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी, वो पी से फंड रेज करती है, तो देन देयर प्राइवेट कैपिटल वाज.
अक्षय का क्वेश्चन ये नहीं था कि प्राइवेट इक्विटी फर्म से रेज करती है. अक्षय का क्वेश्चन ये था कि एक प्राइवेट कंपनी है, उसने एक प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर से फंड रेज किया है, तो विल
अच्छा
दैट
तब तो
प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर
डिविडेंड,
रिसीव?
हाँ तब तो डिविडेंड मिलेगा। बट सर अगर एक न्यू फॉर्म
More
कंपनी
or
है
less,
जिसमें,
Vishal, more or less, I think he's right. That's what I'm also a little bit. I'm wondering it whether जो private equity से invest करते हैं, would they also receive dividend?
Yes, they will also receive dividend.
Right.
But try and understand, private equity firm will receive dividend. Their investors will not receive dividend because it's private equity who will decide in turn what they want to pass on to their investors or not.
Right, absolutely.
But because now we have created 3 layers. Let me plot this on a screen. So, sorry, yeah, this is yours. So what we're talking about is this scenario. So ये PE फंड है, PEF लिख रहा हूँ इसमें, ठीक है। एंड यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टर A है, ये B है, ये C है, ये सब लिमिटेड पार्टनर है इस PE फर्म में। तो इन्होंने इस PE फर्म में इन्वेस्ट किया, करेक्ट। और यहाँ पे इसका 100 करोड़ हो गया। अब ये पैसा आ गया एक जनरल पार्टनर के हाथ में, और इस जनरल पार्टनर ने एक प्राइवेट कंपनी X में इन्वेस्ट कर दिया, ठीक है। और उसी X कंपनी का लिए एक ZB इन्वेस्टर है प्राइवेट। ओनली डिफरेंस इज this is private equity firm and this Z is not a private equity firm, is an individual, but both जो Z ने इन्वेस्ट किया है और ये GP ने इन्वेस्ट किया है, दोनों प्राइवेट इक्विटी है X के लिए। गाइस यहाँ तक कोई डाउट? अक्षय, साहिल, यहाँ तक कोई डाउट?
Okay.
ठीक है सर।
ठीक है, अब डिविडेंड की बात करते हैं। लेट मी गेट डिफरेंट कलर मार्कर फॉर दिस। नाउ व्हेन X विल डिक्लेयर डिविडेंड, डिविडेंड Z को भी मिलेगा और डिविडेंड इस प्राइवेट इक्विटी फर्म को भी मिलेगा, ठीक है। X will not go and pay dividend directly to A, B, C.
दैट्स राइट।
ठीक है यहाँ तक साहिल, और सॉरी अक्षय?
Yes, yes,
अक्षय,
clear.
now that's the, यहाँ पे X का लुकआउट खत्म हो जाए। So X is not bothered about anything apart after this. Now it's the decision of this private equity firm to decide ये जो डिविडेंड मिला है उसमें से कितना A को देना है और देना है कि नहीं देना। ये इस PE फंड का डिसीजन है, नथिंग टू डू विद X।
ओके
तो अब तेरी, अक्षय की या किसी और की कोई क्वेरी है इसमें जो अनएड्रेस रही हो या
हाँ,
कुछ कंफ्यूजन हो तो पूछे।
मेरी क्वेरी है सर।
बोलो
सर जस्ट टू डिग डाउन मोर फर्दर, लेट्स अज्यूम ये एक सी कंपनी है जिसमें आप, मैं और अक्षय हम प्रमोटर्स हैं। हमारे पास सबके पास 30 करोड़ का कैपिटल है, 90 करोड़ कैपिटल है, और हमारा स्टेक भी 33% है, राइट।
टोटल
अब
कंपनी
हमने
कैपिटल कितना है?
90 करोड़।
टोटल कैपिटल
यस। इसमें आप, मैं और अक्षय 30 तीनों इक्वल पार्टनर, इक्वल स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं।
बट ये जेड भी तो है, वो हटा दूं?
हाँ नहीं, डेट को अभी लेके आते हैं।
हाँ
सर अब हमने
अब
एक प्लान फ्यूचर इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए पी फंड के पास गए, ILFS के पास, हमने उनसे और 60 करोड़ ले लिए। तो टोटल कैपिटल 150 हो गया, हमारा स्टेक उतना ही है। अब जो पी फंड है,
हमारा स्टेक उतना नहीं है साहिल, हमारा स्टेक उतना नहीं है।
हमारा स्टेक 130 रहेगा इसमें।
कैसे 1/3 रहेगा?
हमारा स्टेक क्या होगा फिर?
हमारा डाइल्यूट हो जाएगा।
डाइल्यूट हो गया ना, ये ओल्ड परसेंटेज है तुम्हारी। सो लेट मी रिमूव द मार्कअप्स ऑन दिस। सो ओल्ड एंड परसेंटेज स्टेक न्यू। तो जो तुम्हारा ओल्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट है, तुम्हारा ओल्ड स्टेक था, तुमने 30 रुपीज इन्वेस्ट किया ऑन अ बेस ऑफ 90। नए वाले में 150 हो चुका टोटल।
20 हो गया, हाँ।
तो फिर स्टेक के सेम कैसे रहा तुम्हारा? ये 30 ऑन अ बेस ऑफ 50, 150 है ना?
20% हो गया।
हाँ, तो सेम कहाँ से हो गया?
अब सर अब जैसे हम तीनों इसमें 2020 हैं और पी फंड जो है इसमें 40% ओनर है, तो पी फंड को डिविडेंड क्यों डिसाइड, पी फंड ही तो डिसाइड करेगा फिर डिविडेंड कितना देना है, मतलब पी फंड देन विल गेन अ कंट्रोलिंग स्टेक इन दिस कंपनी।
क्यों 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 भाई, ऐसा
बिकॉज
क्यों?
पी इज द लार्जेस्ट स्टेक होल्डर।
क्या बात कर रहे हैं यार साहिल?
नहीं एक सेकंड,
More than
ये
50% of
2020 ये
stake का
20
by us
ये
collectively
20
ना, तो
एक
नहीं हो
ये
सकता।
2020 अरे एक मिनट रुको, साहिल अक्षय निशांत मिला के कितना बनता है
60
साहिल? अगर हम
60।
तीनों मिलके कह दे कि डिविडेंड देना है तो पी कुछ कर सकता है?
ओके
पूछ रहा हूँ मैं, कुछ
अच्छा
नहीं
ठीक
कर
है सर।
सकता ना। हाँ, पीई अगर हम तीनों एक साथ मिले नहीं and we don't unite together, then the PE fund will start dictating the terms. But if we three come together, we will still be able to dictate PE firm. Because individually, we might have a minority stake, but if we individually all three come together, we'll still hold majority stake against PE. साहिल समझ आया?
ठीक है सर।
अक्षय कोई डाउट इसमें?
No doubt. Quite clear.
Anybody else? Okay. Now, moving further. Yeah, Kansha.
So I have a doubt in the previous example that you were explaining.
This one?
So XZ and PEF were giving the investment bifurcation to ABC investors.
कांशा बहुत नॉइज आ रहा है आपके पीछे से, आई कांट हियर यू।
Hello.
हाँ कांशा।
I was saying I had a doubt in the example which was mentioned earlier, not the one which we were discussing right now.
Okay, go ahead.
So the question is that the PEF decides the amount of investors that will be given, the amount that has to be given to the investors when GP gives the dividend fund to PEF.
Sorry, Kansha, the TV such as a music system is on behind you. I can't hear you very clearly. If it's not possible to switch off, we can take this question tomorrow. If you can switch off and ask, then it would be helpful.
Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
So I was asking in the previous example, without related to that previous example, where X, Z, and the PEF are involved. So there was this mention that GP will give the dividend to PEF, which will further as in bifurcate the dividend into the investors ABC.
Correct.
So that amount of investment, the PEF will decide how much percentage to be given.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if whatever the percentage decided, is it already decided in the first hand, or it is decided when the dividend is given to PEF?
Both ways. So it depends upon the type of the PE firm that you have chosen. Some of the PE firms upfront decide that will pay you X percentage of what we receive, and some PE firm says we'll decide as and when we receive funds.
Okay.
Akansha, is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this DuPont we'll discuss when we come to ratios. I'm not sure who will take ratios, so whether it will go to KPMG or whether it will come to me. So irrespective of where does it go, this will be done in ratios. Okay, so DuPont analysis, you can note down this DuPont analysis ratios में होगा ये. We've discussed venture capital firms. We've discussed buyout. We have discussed what is distressed funds. What is distressed funds is if a company which is not doing good, company is struggling, suffering from losses, something like this, on the verge of shutdown, and at that stage the funding is given, then those are called as distressed funding or distressed financing. Is that clear? Distressed financing. Then we have mezzanine. What do you mean? What do you mean by mezzanine funding? Mezzanine finance, mezzanine funding.
Mezzanine finance is where investments are made to take the company public.
Oh.
To help the firm prepare for
Investment is
IPO.
being made. Sorry, investment is made to make company public. Could you elaborate, Akshay?
It's basically a later stage of financing wherein commercial viability has been established and perhaps even production and sales is ongoing. And it's an expansionary stage wherein the company in question may want to go for an IPO, and that is where private equity firms step in to finance.
What do you mean by mezzanine?
What do you mean by
So can I try?
mezzanine?
Yes, sir.
So mezzanines are hybrid securities that can be converted into equity in case of default. That was the classic definition that is mentioned in the book.
हमें मुझे यही तो नहीं चाहिए थी, तुमने ये रट रखी है.
ये बुक में आज ही पढ़ा है, बुक में ही है.
हाँ तो मुझे पता है, but I'm saying, what does this mean? Can you explain this to me? Definition तो ठीक है बता दी. What does this mean? What do you mean by mezzanine?
It is a kind of subordinate debt which, when in case of default, gets preference after the which gets paid off after the PS preference share capital is paid before equity.
Sorry, come again.
So it's a kind of subordinate debt which have a preference over the earning after the preference share capitals are paid.
So these are subordinate debt which are paid after preference shares.
Yes. Maybe.
But before equity.
Yes.
अच्छा. And with maybe.
हाँ.
So उसका जो rate of return है वो preference से ज़्यादा होगा कम होगा?
Obviously, the risk is more in these kind of investments. So
my understanding
is,
why would somebody, sorry Akshay, before I come, why would somebody invest into this? मैं preference में ना invest कर लूँगा. सोच लो साहिल, थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ है इसमें. हाँ अक्षय.
Yeah, my understanding is mezzanine is a kind of unsecured loan which ranks above equity, but is subordinate to the bank loans.
Which ranks above equity? What does that mean?
As in the sense that it is not exactly clear on this concept.
Nah, okay, but which is what we'll discuss. But I'm just trying to understand when you said it's rank above. I'm just trying to see.
I was just trying to.
What do you mean by when you say rank? Rank could mean in terms of return, it could mean in terms of risk, in terms of defaults, in terms of the earning rights, in terms of earning entitlements. When you say rank, what rank are we talking about? That's what I'm trying to understand. It's just fine if you don't know. I will anyways cover this piece, but I'm just trying to understand in case you know, as you said, rank. So do you know what the rank means?
Yeah, rank in case of liquidation.
Ah, okay. It's only about liquidation.
Not only liquidation, but perhaps liquidation as well. It's still not right. पूरा गलत नहीं है, but it's still not right. हाँ साहिल, तेरे को समझ आया कैच क्या था जो तू गड़बड़ कर रहा है? Again, your piece is very close. Sahil?
Saying that because it is most risky, so it has a high yield, and therefore one would invest in it. one would
Mezzanine is the
invest in
most
mezzanine.
mezzanine is the most risky capital in the structure. देखो पता है कि गैस मार रहा है.
I have read it मतलब काफी टाइम पहले न्यूज़पेपर से वर्ड आया था तो तभी गूगल पे पढ़ा था तो उसका तो नहीं याद है और कुछ यूज नहीं देखा कभी लाइफ में.
ठीक है चलो ऐसे करते हैं फिर चलो. So that others also. So
I think
what I
Nishant,
want.
is it a kind of a convertible bond? That's what I'm.
It is, and that's the reason why I was trying to ask you leave this concept called mezzanine funding.
Trying
Like,
to recollect what I'd learned earlier. Kind of a convertible. Yeah, it is a one form of the convertible fund, but I think इसलिए ये theory और books में जाने से पहले मैं आपसे ये चीज समझने की कोशिश कर. But do you know the meaning of mezzanine? And that's where the problem starts. In general parlance, mezzanine reflects the middle ground, as in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I have level 1 of a building, and so suppose this is level 1, this is level 2. Mezzanine means a floor which is between these two floors.
Yeah.
So that's called as mezzanine floor. I don't know, in case you have been to CP office, Imatica CP office. So I don't know if you've been to that office and you've seen where Damni and these admin people used to sit. So that's a mezzanine floor. So they used to sit, which is a floor that's been created between two levels. So that's called as mezzanine. Now let's bring this concept into mezzanine financing. What is mezzanine financing? On one side you have an equity, on one side you have a debt. When you have a funding which is somewhere in between these two categories, hence that's called as mezzanine financing.
All right.
And that's why actually you were referring to convertible. Sahil was referring to subordinate to equity.
Yeah.
Those are the types of structuring clauses that I bring in. But mezzanine means it's not equity, it's not debt, it's not first floor, it's not second floor, it's lying between these two floors. Which is first floor is like a kind of an equity and second floor is kind of a debt, or vice versa. Okay. So what let me give this task to everyone so that others also get a possible explore this. So what I want you to go and read about this today and let's discuss, and I want you to come back tomorrow to see what you've gathered in terms of mezzanine financing. ठीक है, सब लोग एक check करेंगे. It's a 5-10 minute kind of a task. And anyways, I've given you majority of the piece, so it's not something which is hidden now. But I still want you to explain because इसके 3-4 versions हैं. There are 3-4 versions through which this financing can be created. So I want you to actually explore these, and then if I will explain after once you make an attempt, probably you would be in a better position to understand these structures. So everyone, please try and spend 5, 10, 20 minutes between today and tomorrow's class and try and read about what is mezzanine financing. ठीक है. So Sahil और अक्षय एक बार कल याद दिलाना. We'll pick this up again once everybody has gone through this.
I might not be available tomorrow though, Nishant. I'm not entirely sure I will be attending, but
no issues.
Yeah.
कोई और मुझे याद दिला देना. That's the only thing which I need. Anything else on this slide? Discuss venture capital. We discuss distress, mezzanine. Yes, right.
So I would just like to consolidate on PE funds. So PE funds invest in private limited companies and they are through angel investing or venture capitalists. So if they are in angel investor, they won't invest in, they won't take part in day-to-day management. But if as a VC, they will have active management in the business. Also, PE is entitled to dividend just like other public investment, and apart from that, they can always sell their stake just like the public shareholding, but after not on a day-to-day basis, but after a medium to long-term time period.
Yeah.
Okay.
ठीक है, तो वेंचर कैपिटल के एग्जांपल्स हैं, इन केस यू वांट टू सी सम नेम्स, सम ऑफ दीज आर इंडियन नेम्स एज वेल. फेसबुक का वेंचर कैपिटल ट्रांजैक्शन अगर आपको पढ़ने में इंटरेस्ट हो, so you can go through this. We'll discuss what is buyout. LBO valuation transactions. Again, we will do this when we reach to valuation. We'll discuss what is distress. We'll discuss what is special situations. Again, distress और इंडिया में सरफेसी एक्ट होता है, यूएस में चैप्टर 11 होता है, इंडिया में चैप्टर 7 बोलते हैं. So all these are default or liquidation scenarios. So somebody who comes from a legal background probably might know this. So chapter 7 SURFACE Act, ये सब जैसे chapter 11 है, ये यूएस में chapter 11 बोलते हैं. So it's when a company goes into bankruptcy, तो इन chapters के अंदर आप bankruptcy file करते हो, and that's where the distress situation comes in. Okay, it's more to do with the legal concepts. But what for you? What do you mean by distress situation? If company is in the problem, they're suffering with the losses, and they are in the position where they will not be able to continue and recover and will not be able to pay their debts, then the law of the respective country allows them to file for a bankruptcy, and that's where the distress situation comes in. Any funding that's been given to that company to overcome this situation is called as distress funding. Secondary investments. So purchase of existing commitments in a PE funds is called as secondary investments. So which means a company startup हो रही है. So suppose Akshay is starting a new company. उसमें मैंने private equity का investment किया. अब Sahil is buying from me, not from Akshay. So then if Sahil is buying from a previous private equity investor, then for Sahil it's a secondary investment. When I bought from Akshay, which is directly from the company, that was primary investment for me. Is this clear? When one private equity firm buys from another PE fund who has already created a portfolio, then that becomes a private equity investment. Sorry, that becomes a secondary investment.
How is this different from a replacement capital that we discussed earlier?
So as I told you, the replacement capital could be where the owner, or in this example, the Akshay might also get involved, correct? Akshay might bring in the person. In a secondary investment, Akshay does not get involved. It's between me and Sahil, something like this.
All right.
जैसे secondary market में होता है, so अगर today you have purchased Reliance shares, once Reliance have issued the shares to you, now you can sell it to anybody. Reliance is least bothered, correct?
Yeah.
Same. When work for the private companies is the same concept from a secondary market perspective. It's just in a public company, when you have secondary market, that those are being traded through stock exchange. In a private company, it still is a secondary investment, but it's not traded through stock exchange. Any doubt on this slide? Okay, so so these are again examples. So mezzanine. Anyways, we'll discuss this tomorrow. Discuss this. ठीक है. I think यहाँ तक हम रखेंगे. We'll start off with this tomorrow. ठीक है, इतना रखेंगे. Any doubt, guys? Before we wrap this up.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, is it possible कि कल भी आप एक PE का प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल जैसे अभी हमने बनाया था वैसा एक करें? अभी कुछ क्लियर तो है बट स्टिल नॉट क्रिस्टल क्लियर.
ठीक है, तो आप एग्जांपल बना लेना, जो क्वेरी हो पूछ लेना. अब एग्जांपल
प्रोफेसर आप ही फॉर्म करो, ज्यादा बेटर रहेगा.
ठीक है, मैं फॉर्म कर दूं. Anything else? Guys, anything else?
No, sir.
All good, yeah.
No, sir.
चले ठीक है. So we'll continue tomorrow. मैंने कुछ टास्क दिए हैं आपको, प्लीज वो कंप्लीट कर लीजिएगा. थैंक्स, बाय.
Okay, that's
I believe class is over, right?